Welcome to Discography, the music podcast that delivers the objective truth about the entire discography of every single artist and band that ever existed. Hello, Joe.
Hey, Dave.
How we doing today, guy?
I'm okay. It's a little early in the morning for me.
It is early.
I'm a night person. I'm a night owl.
I'm a morning guy, but I know you are not. And the reason we're bringing this up is because let's talk about how a guest gets to be on our show, has the distinct honor and privilege. When we talk with prospective guests about coming on to Discography, what we do is, Joe, we offer them several choices, right?
Well, yeah, we try to collaborate with the guests. Some artists are very challenging to cover just because of the length of their discography, or you know, maybe they don't have the right kind of arc we're looking for. So, you know, we're trying to find a certain kind of thing where it's like we can tell a story over the episode, and it kind of, you know, it fits our format well. This is one we wouldn't have chosen probably, you know, right.
It would have been many years down the line, and we would have been like, all right, I guess we got to get around to this person.
Yeah.
Now, just you and I. It doesn't mean she's good, she's bad, whatever it is.
When our guest did select this artist, we were like, oh, that seems like a good...
Decent enough.
It seemed like it would be a good episode with this particular guest.
Right. So we've settled on something, and there was a lot of discourse going back and forth because this person has had a couple number one hits. And, you know, it's been a while, but it is a couple number one hits or a couple number one hits.
And we're trying to book some guests who come from diverse backgrounds, too. This is not somebody who is pretty different from our other guests that we've had on to this point.
We like a whole disparate array of, you know, we're interested just as much in, you know, as obscure as you can get to as big as you can get. It's all interesting to us.
Right. So we were psyched to do this episode, and you know, when we do these, there's a lot of preparation that goes into this. We're listening to all of these records, making a lot of notes, doing
and often
research.
The records are garbage.
Yeah, especially later in artists' careers, you know, because it's really hard to maintain that, you know, high quality over a period of decades.
Unless you're talking about an artist like tonight's artist, in which case the whole fucking career was a bed shitter.
Well, let's not spoiler alert it too much.
It's okay. It's okay.
There's some good stuff.
So in essence, what happened is Joe's not a morning guy. We had to come because of the time change and the request of the artist who was going to appear on the show today. We had to get down to the studio, which is about a half-hour drive from us. And so we get down here, and it's Sunday. We're here. We get here at about 8 a.m., and we find out by email that we have been stood up.
About 10 minutes before we were supposed to start airing.
Yeah.
Which
is disappointing, but frankly, it's not happened to us before, and I'm guessing will not happen to us again.
But so the point is, we're left with this kind of orphan sort of episode where it's not an artist we probably would have chosen. Right. And it kind of made a lot more sense with this guest.
We can't say her name, but all I can say is if she was here, it could have been so beautiful.
Right.
But unfortunately, I think we're alone now. So instead of that, you know, we'll do this, which is, you know, back to business. You guys need to know how seriously we take this shit.
Discography is heavily researched, and the music is always listened to with fresh ear holes.
That's right. And we're not just covering albums. We're covering little albums, bigger albums, in-betweener albums, all kinds of stuff. Whatever was recorded, that's what we're listening to and assessing.
And every release is rated and slapped with a rating from 0 to 5 stars.
And I'm telling you got to take our word for it. That lets us look straight into the third eye hole of an artist's true arc.
Today, the artist that we will be turning the spray cans on is none other than Stevie Nicks.
Stadium-level supergroup superstar with a spectacularly successful solo career, turned once-a-decade reminder that she exists at all apart from the group.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So well, I guess we start at the beginning with some biographical information.
First, let me say that, you know, I don't really have any Stevie solo incendiary moments as a kid, but my parents would host parties every weekend, and local couples would I was going to say swing by, but that's not really what happened. But they would listen to Rumors heavily. And actually,
Hey, it was the 70s.
one couple split up and blamed my parents' fucking parties for that.
Was that couple Stevie Nicks and Lindsey Buckingham?
All right, so she has no meaning to me. Yourself?
Well, like everybody else, I'm a Fleetwood Mac fan, like everybody else on planet Earth.
Sure. Fleetwood Mac, yeah.
And, a lot of the music I got into as a kid, I got into from like MTV. So Stevie was on there with, not only with the Mac, but Stop Dragging My Heart Around. So
Yeah.
I can't say I was ever a super fan of her solo work. And, there's kind of two Stevies, obviously. There's the Stevie within Fleetwood Mac, in which she plays kind of when she appears on a song, when it's one of her tunes.
Where she plays the witch.
When it's one of her tunes, it's kind of like a very refreshing, like, she has a very distinctive kind of voice and a persona and a sort of cool to her.
And she's given a pared down slot on every album, which means that she's able to pick from the A material.
Yeah, she's able to pick from the A material, and also, she has the great band around her. That's kind of the parts of this trawl that were interesting to me, the sort of the differences in the solo career, where she has to carry an entire album on her own. And in lieu of the great band that has this incredible chemistry, she has session guys who are amazing in their own right.
Waddle.
They're all amazing in their own right, and I love those and have undying respect for those musicians, but it's a different kind of thing when you're kind of a sideman.
Well, let's get to her solo career as quickly as possible in the sake of dramatic tension. So, by the way, the nickname Stevie, she could only pronounce her name instead of Stephanie, TD, like that. So that's why the nickname, if anyone was wondering. So Stevie Nicks, born in Phoenix, Arizona, while attending Arcadia High School in Arcadia, California, she joined her first band, The Changing Times, sort of a folk rock group with a vocal harmony overlay. She met Lindsey Buckingham during senior year at Menlo Atherton High School in Atherton, California. She joined him in harmony when he was singing California Dreamin'. The rest is history. Buckingham was actually in a psychedelic rock band called Fritz, but they were kind of splintering, so he asked Nicks to join in the Summer of Love to replace the lead singer. They wound up opening for Hendrix and Janis. They were around for a couple of years. These guys, Nicks has been bopping around the scene for many years before being successful. So she was going to be an English teacher, and with her father's blessing, she wound up dropping out of college to pursue a musical career with her boyfriend, Lindsey. She had a very slow ramp up to a solo career. So she was with the Mac in 75, but she didn't actually start her solo career until 1981. She sang background on Whenever I Call You Friend, the Kenny Loggins soft rock classic, and on a couple Walter Egan songs. But during Tusk is when she really started laying down demos for her solo career, which brings us to Phase 1, charging out of the gate like a bull on coke, 1981 to 1983. Joe?
So, you get the first record, Belladonna, which is...
was this successful?
It was extremely successful. Holy crap, was it successful. It was a #1 album, I believe.
That's right. In fact, it spent almost 3 years on the Billboard chart. From July 81 to June 84, it was on the charts.
And it's really Stevie's album pretty much all the way around. She wrote everything, almost everything with no co-writers. There's a couple of co-writes. Famously, the single Stop Dragging My Heart Around, she did not write that. But everything else, other than one other co-write with Roy Bittan and one with Ben Montench, she wrote the entire album.
Right.
And it's very good.
Yeah, it certainly is.
It's an extension of her work with Fleetwood Mac.
There were four pretty big singles from it.
Yeah.
You had Stop Dragging My Heart Around was #3. The Don Henley duet Leather and Lace, #6. Edge of 17 was 11. You'd think it would be higher, but
Yeah.
And the country song After the Glitter Fades was 32.
Right.
Pretty damn good.
Yep, and the album tracks are pretty good on this as well. So this is a strong debut. It's session players galore on this. It's some of Waddy Wachtel. You have Roy Bittan of the E Street Band and Ben Montench of the Heartbreakers are on this record a bunch. Russ Kunkel, Bob Glaub. These are all legendary.
But mainly above everything else, as we'll discover as the rest of her career unfurls, the songs really are here.
Yeah.
She totally delivers in the songwriting department. There's only 2 songs on here that I wouldn't put on our playlist.
Right.
And most of those songs are just downright classics, like Stop Dragging My Heart Around, obviously, Think About It, After the Glitter Fades, Edge of 17. These are great songs.
Yeah, and this on something like this, she really shows off. She has a distinct kind of voice as a songwriter. She has certain kind of moves that she goes back to a lot, and she will do that throughout her career. But she really does have a distinct perspective and voice as a songwriter. She has this kind of
This is her platonic ideal of a record.
Yeah.
So not just for her audience, which is definitely the case, but you'd have to be... Think about the kind of insane person who favors any Stevie Nicks record over this. Right. What kind of fucked up piece of shit do you have to be to like any other record better than this by her? You got that. But even for Stevie, this is the platonic ideal. Like from here on in, she's copying moves from this record. In fact, The Wild Heart, the next record, which we'll get to, but is basically sort of a copy of the template for this record.
A couple other tunes on this. The opener, the title track, Belladonna. That's kind of like a more upbeat version of her classic song Silver Springs. It's kind of a similar kind of song to me. Kind of glittery, shiny ballad. It's a kind of mid-tempo ballad thing that she really excels at.
Speaking of Outside the Rain toward the end of the album, that's Sarah Cop.
Right.
But Sarah's so good that, it's like, I'll take any Sarah Cop. And she winds up copying from that song many times through her career.
Yeah, there's a couple that she really goes, Sarah and Dreams, she really revisits kind of a lot.
Which is just 2 chords back and forth.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later because I have a whole thing about
this one. I give 4.5 stars.
I gave it the same, 4.5.
In 1981 as well, she contributes Blue Lamp to the heavy metal soundtrack. Great movie. This is unfortunately definitely a Belladonna outtake. I give it 2.5 stars.
I gave this one 3, and what I liked about it and what kind of she starts to lose after a certain amount of time is just her actual singing voice is pretty powerful on this. She sounds different as a singer as a younger person. She has kind of a more powerful voice at this stage of her career and has the really tight, fast vibrato. It's not an amazing song, but I do like her vocal performance on it, so I gave that one 3 stars.
All right, so then in 1982, for the Fast Times at Ridgemont High soundtrack, I got to say, this has always been my favorite song of Stevie Nicks' solo career. Not quite sure I really connect with this song, but Sleeping Angel, what a great song, man. I have no idea how this was an outtake.
So this one was new for me. I didn't know this at all. And I guess I've never really had the soundtrack for Fast Times.
I don't have it. But
I knew a lot of the individual songs, but this song never really caught my attention before. It's amazing.
It's so good. I give this one 5 stars. This is the high point of her career.
I also gave it 5. Again, her vocals just sounds very bright and shiny here. And this song itself is really cool. The writing of it. It's not at all a retread. It's kind of it's
its own thing.
It's its own. It's in a different harmonic kind of ground than she usually goes into.
I'm really bummed that she never went back to the well on this one because it's very affecting. A lot of her solo career, I think the reason why it doesn't get to me is that there's it doesn't feel authentic. It feels like she's just releasing albums.
Well, yeah, this
feels authentic.
This song was kind of the highlight of the whole trawl for me. Discovering this song. So this is going to be like a new favorite for me.
1983, The Wild Heart. So late 82, she started recording this after the Fleetwood Mac Mirage tour. It got to number 5 and went platinum.
Now,
So,
Mirage in itself only really cemented her superstardom because she had the big smash hit Gypsy on that, which is a very fine song.
Great song.
And
that's got to be the best song on that record.
And also kind of like reinforced her like kind of witchy sort of image. It's right in her kind of right in her wheelhouse. Great song.
Yeah.
And so she's still a huge superstar.
But this one has a penis load of guest musicians. So you have tons. And again, this is sort of following in the footprint of
a lot of the same session guys are the core band. And
but you have Tom Petty coming back with the Heartbreakers to do "I Will Run to You." You have Mick Fleetwood on Sable on Blonde. You have Toto, Steve Lukather on Stand Back. Lukather. I never saw a YouTube video with his name being pronounced. I'm sorry. And also Prince on the same song, plus Sandy Stewart, who wound up writing Seven Wonders for Fleetwood Mac, is heavy on this record.
Yeah, so Sandy Stewart's keyboard player, synth player. She also co-wrote some of the tunes. Kind of a key member of the band at this point. This is a much more synth-heavy record.
Yeah.
And
3 singles off this one: Stand Back, If Anyone Falls, and Nightbird. Yeah,
the synths on this aren't super. They sound good, I think. I like the approach to this of the synth stuff. If Anyone Falls, that was a big hit. You know that one if you heard it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's got like
good song.
It's got a lot of like Oberheim like cheese pad happening.
But it works for the material. I mean, look, this is the same template as Belladonna, but with diminishing returns. The Petty collaboration is weak. The title track is sort of another thing like what Belladonna offered, and Stand Back is the insistent synth-driven single, just like Edge of 17. The main problem with the record is side 2 sucks.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of things on here, like Gate and Garden, that's pretty cool, but come on, let's get real. It's Sarah, it's the same song as Sarah.
I like it because I don't mind a Sarah riff.
It's the same harmonic move. I mean, it's if you don't mind that, it's not bad. Stand Back she wrote that kind of to the tune of Little Red Corvettes.
Right. She's literally just doing a karaoke thing.
And so she brought him in and had a session with him, and they kind of like hashed out how the royalties were going to work, and they agreed to a 50-50 split, although he's not credited as a writer.
Which is amazing.
Yeah.
Because she really didn't have to do that or even tell him.
And neither did he, really. Him agreeing to that is kind of cool on his part. So I don't really love that song.
It's okay.
It's that track sounds kind of thin, and that has like a very obvious Lynn drum. That one I don't really love. I mean, it was obviously we all know that song. It was a smash at its time, but not my favorite.
I think there's only one great song on the record, which is the title track. So you have a 6-minute epic screed right out of the gate, which is a wonderful song, and nothing winds up measuring up. But the main problem to me is that there's 10 songs. After song number 6, there's not a single keeper on the record.
Right. Then another one that's kind of I'm this will come up throughout the episode, but there's a song called Sable on Blood.
It's Dreams.
It does the Dreams thing,
yep.
And there's a specific trick to the song Dreams where it's 2 chords. It's going back and forth between F and G, but the song feels like it's in C. And it never goes to that C chord. So it has a feeling of being kind of like never resolving. It has a feeling of being kind of suspended. So it's a neat trick, if you can pull off a whole song like that, because you only have the 2 chord changes, but there's still some tension in it because it never resolves. But man, does she go to that well a lot of times.
A lot.
Yeah.
A lot. And sometimes honestly, it's welcome because the stuff that surrounds it is uninspired.
Yeah, like,
so at least
right.
it's...
So this song to me isn't bad, but it's like it's a little eyebrow raising. It's if that stuff is distracting to you, you're probably.
And then how about on Nothing Ever Changes? What a shitty sax solo! Oh my fucking Lord, dude!
Yeah, there's some questionable choices on kind of all these from.
I look this one I give 3 1/4 stars.
The quarter.
I give it 3 1/4 because if I waffle, if I let enough time. Drag on between deciding on 3 and 3.5.
Right.
I got a life to live, bud.
I gave it a break and gave it 3.5. It's funny that there's even like you deliberate on it that long.
I do. No, I really do.
Like this, I love the idea that you're sitting there thinking that deeply about Wild at Heart.
I make a joke out of it, but it's not a joke, which is sad. All right, so
I gave that one a break because the road starts to get pretty rocky from here.
That's very generous of you to say. Phase 2, everything that's not Belladonna and the Wild Heart, 1984 to the present. Okay, so in 1984, first you have her contribution to Against All Odds, Violet and Blue, a very unconvincing groover. I say no. 1.5 stars.
I gave it 2. I'm being slightly more generous to Stevie here.
Joe, let's talk about cocaine. Cocaine is a hell of a drug, okay? And, I'm not a big fan, to be totally honest with you.
It's not really fun. Let's be honest.
Yeah, it's no go. No go.
Not that I've ever, I don't,
From what I've read. So in 1985, she does a record called Rock a Little.
It does rock a little.
It rocks very little. So
she's doing a lot of toot around this time.
So at this point, she's actually at the conclusion of the tour. She checks herself into Betty Ford, but when she's recording this, I think she's a little bit up her own ass.
Yeah, her voice sounds very ragged on this. It sounds like 25% of it is like missing or something. It's like the photo of Marty McFly where he starts to kind of vanish. Yep. Sounds like that's kind of what's happening to her voice here.
And actually in '87, Tango in the Night, she's famously sort of there but absent from the vocals.
Right. She was really doing a Marty McFly.
And check this out. How about this as an indication of how her song radar is completely fucked up at this point. So 2 songs are offered to her during the sessions for this. Martin Page and Bernie Taupin's song, These Dreams, the Heart song.
Yeah.
It was offered to her and she's like, nah, I don't see anything in this song.
Mm-hmm. That
hit number 1. Yeah. And then Tom Petty writes Don't Come Around Here No More. And she's like, nah, I don't think I could do this song justice.
Well, but she was probably right.
Yeah. But still, 2 huge songs have been offered to her.
Yeah, and Don't Come Around Here No More is that's the actual Tom Petty recording is really great.
It is a great song. So let's talk about the apocryphal meaning of the album title Tusk.
Oh, okay. Well, that's kind of going in the past, but I guess it's sort of relevant here.
It is. If it's relevant anywhere in her career.
I am sure this is not what the actual meaning of it was.
I am sure you are incorrect.
Now, it seems like if we're using Occam's razor here and going with the simplest explanation is the likely explanation, it's a dick joke, right? I think Tusk is a dick joke.
I think that, yes, that is the reason why it was called that.
Mm-hmm. But the urban legend is, why don't you go ahead and take
this is more my territory.
This is more a Dave kind of stuff.
So apparently she got an ivory tusk. I like to think it was shipped to her from Africa. It was engraved with stuff. And she used that to toot coke up her butthole. That's apparently what Tusk was about. I believe this to be actually true.
Nah, it's a dick joke, I think. Now, she did vehemently hate the title Tusk. She tried to prevent. She was vetoed 4-1.
It's a weird album.
Everybody else was down, but she hated it. She thought it was a stupid title. It is kind of stupid.
So let's talk about Rock a Little. There are some singles from this, and they were successful. Talk to Me was number 4. I Can't Wait, number 16. And has anyone ever written anything for you? Number 60. But let's talk about the material. First of all, the production. Okay.
So now we're in my territory.
Yeah.
So this record is the height of the popularity of the Yamaha DX7 keyboard. And man, is there a lot of DX7 on this. The DX7 is a digital synthesizer, and it's like, it's the sound of like, all those like Howard Jones records and like just anything from like 84 or something.
Do you like him? I love his first couple of records. I actually do.
I don't know about Howard Jones.
I mean, there's worse from that time.
I guess,
period.
but anyway, this thing is like drenched in the novel thing about the DX7 is like, oh, this sounds like real, like it sounds like a real harmonica and like a real, piano, but it actually didn't. It actually sounded like this very flat digital, like. Other vintage synthesizers from that time, the analog synthesizers go for many, many thousands of dollars, but you can pick up a DX7 for like $75. They're almost completely worthless. They've had a bit of a renaissance, but then the plug-in version of it sounds exactly identical. It's exactly the same code, actually.
So, but paired with the sound of the execrable sound, am I pronouncing that right? Sound
yeah,
of
that
this
sounds
thing.
about right.
In addition, the digital production techniques that are utilized in this record.
Yeah, it's not just the DX7. It's like, very like cheesy sounding drum machine stuff and like,
It's the cheesiest of the cheesy. I mean, it really, really is. Especially because, there's this theme throughout her career where it's not just coke. She then becomes dependent on Klonopin, and I feel bad. I mean, she struggles with this stuff, but during these times where she's either in a clinic or really gobbled up by drugs like a Pac-Man power dot, then you can sense her absence on these records because the production becomes much more of a kitchen sink thing to paste over the cracks.
Yeah, it becomes more of an exercise in listening to the production itself, right?
Yeah.
So, it's so in your face, the 80s-ness of it, that you really can't ignore it. So, like,
do you like any songs from this album?
Not really, no. I can't really say
There's
that I do.
one that I like, but the title is so fucking crazy bad.
I know the one. I saw that title. I just cracked up before I even heard it.
Yeah, I Sing for the Things.
It's even better than that. It's I Sing for Things.
Isn't it for the things?
No, it's just I Sing for Things.
All right. Yeah, I like them both very, very much. That'll be on the playlist. I actually like that. It's a pretty ballad that she wrote with Jimmy Iovine. But
now the songs that were hits. So Talk to Me. That's another one. If you lived through the 80s, you will definitely remember that song. The guy who wrote it, it's kind of like Hungry Eyes or something, like one of those 80s ballads. The guy who wrote
Chaz
it,
Sanford.
Yeah, he also wrote a similarly bad song, "Missing You" by John Waite.
I like that song.
You like that song? Well,
I'm a sucker for
it's
that.
very similar to this.
I was okay. Here's why. I was 12, and I was totally in love with this girl.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, when songs hit you at a certain time,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter what they are. You're screwed.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, "Missing You" is probably a better song than this, but it's similar though. The 80s ballad, like, there's the Stevie song "Talk to Me" has like a throaty sax solo, like real Eddie Money kind of style.
Yeah.
It's pretty rough. I Can't Wait. The other big single is just that sounds just horrible.
I don't like
that
any
one
of the
sounds
singles.
terrible.
There's some really, really bad stuff.
I Can't Wait.
this.
Sort of the epitome of an 80s song that has aged badly.
I was very curious when I was listening to this if what your review of this was going to be. How many stars do you give this?
I give this 1.5.
I give it 1.5 as well.
I don't like it.
All right, let's move.
There's one other one I want to mention. There's a song that's called "Some Became Strangers," but it's so cheesy that it's almost kind of like "so bad it's good" kind of territory. There's this kind of like ridiculous like burpy synth bass going on.
You're going to put that on the playlist?
I almost would, but no.
Okay. If you disagree with Joe's decision, please write to us on the Facebook discussion board or Spotify.
If you want to have a larf, go check out "Some Became Strangers" from Stevie Nicks.
Not on our dime.
Rock a Little, 1986.
1987, a very special Christmas compilation, which I did buy on cassette. She did Silent Night. I give it 2 stars. No matter who did it, I would give 2 stars.
So much agreeing. This is a definitive 2 stars thing because it's a perfunctory read of Silent Night. It's fine.
And then it took her another couple years to shit out another album, The Other Side of the Mirror, in 1989. There was also a tour of the U.S., although very famously, Stevie has said that she has no memory of the tour due to her, increasing addiction to Klonopin at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So she was really, really running ragged.
Yeah, that's sad. That makes me feel bad for her.
So this album is loosely based around the theme of Alice in Wonderland.
Extremely loosely.
Very loosely. This is after the huge Tango in the Night tour. in the UK. The Other Side of the Mirror became Nicks' highest charting solo album in the UK, which reached number 3 and had a top 40 hit with Rooms on Fire. This record, ideas, thoughts, Joseph?
Well, this one is, it doesn't sound as bad as
the production's a step up.
It's a step up. It's still kind of pretty late 80s. A little bit all over the place. There are some kind of things that are like kind of trying to do like hard rock or something. The guy that produced this guy, Rupert Hine, he did a couple of Rush records. He did like Saga. So there are some things where they're kind of going for almost like arena rock kind of vibes, and that's not really a great fit for her.
No, it's not.
There's a song called A Whole Lot of Trouble. It's like a kind of like a blues rock arena thing with like ghastly giant reverb. So there's some weird stuff like that on here. The Rooms on Fire is kind of an okay single.
I like that.
Now,
song.
this record, in contrast to a record like Belladonna, this is all co-writes. So these are songs that she all co-wrote. None of these are 100% Stevie originals. There's definitely some like professional songwriter affectations on this. It's pretty slick. There's one song in particular that has my not so favorite musician Bruce Hornsby duet.
Which song is that?
Two Kinds of Love.
Okay.
Bruce Hornsby and Kenny G appear on that.
God, that's terrible.
I had to like play Highway Star by Deep Purple as like just a palate cleanser.
And by the way, that song was her first single to not chart.
Yeah, you could tell they wanted it to be a single.
Instead of charting, it's sharding.
Yeah, it's a mess of a song.
Yeah, it's sharded. Fire Burning is my favorite song on the record.
It's another one they try to kind of do the arena thing.
I just like the fact that she does something sort of a wistful, birdsy pop song.
Yeah.
It certainly kicks up a hell of a lot more dust than anything else on this very lifeless record.
Yeah, this one's kind of, a little bit perfunctory, professional, not kind of embarrassingly weird like the previous one.
And then Alice is another return back to the Sarah well,
right?
Melodically.
Yep.
Look, there are 3 songs that I'm going to cherry pick for the playlist: Rooms on Fire, Fire Burning, and Alice. I give the record 2.5 stars.
I gave it 2.
Okay, so then in 1991, she releases a best of called Time Space, and there are 3 new tracks.
3 new bad tracks.
3 new bad. Well, one I kind of like.
No. Nope.
Sometimes It's a Bitch, which was the only single released from the record. Unfortunately, co-written by John Bon Jovi, but I don't mind the song. It's not that bad. You hate it?
I know.
You're gonna battle me on it?
That's not a good song.
Okay. We won't put it on. Do you like the song Desert Angel, which Nicks wrote for the men and women serving in the Gulf War?
No. I'm a no on all 3 of these.
What are you, anti-soldier?
I'm pro-soldier, which is why I don't want that song foisted on them.
Okay, so
you almost forgot to mention the song she co-wrote with Bret Michaels of Poison.
That's right. Love's a hard game to play. All right, I give the 3 songs 2.5 stars.
I gave them 1 collectively.
Holy crap.
Yeah,
all right, 1994 Street Angel.
So this one, those of you who have seen the recent Get Back documentary are familiar with the sartorially groovy producer Glyn Johns, legendary producer. So he was brought in to do this thing. And that it did not work out. So they had a major falling out over this after recording a bunch of it. Glyn, I think, didn't want her regular session guys on it, specifically Waddy Wachtel.
That's right.
So that was kind of like he wasn't on a bunch of it. And he was very insistent on Waddy not playing on it for whatever reason. In the end, she fired Glyn Johns, and Waddy did come in and play, as did a bunch of other like big session guys, Kenny Aronoff. And then the usual suspects, Roy Bittan, Mike Campbell.
This was the least successful record of her solo career. It only peaked at number 45 in the U.S. So it did go gold, but it was not successful. It's also not a good record.
Yeah, songwriting is all co-writes again. Hooks and memorable songs are not in abundance.
Very undistinct songwriting. Very bland, faceless production, even though it is Glyn Johns.
No, it's mostly not Glyn Johns. He did some of the sessions, and then they had it finished by other. Here's the thing. The session musicians like this, these guys are all amazing players. Like I've said many times, I have endless respect for these kind of musicians. I love what they do. But you can see sort of what Glyn Johns is getting at by saying, I don't want Waddy on this. Like, I don't want you to just fall into
Same
the
old
same.
thing, yeah,
I don't want you to
patterns.
fall into the, like, kind of like subservient session guy. Like as great as Waddy is, he's not going to be able to come in and play the way Lindsey Buckingham plays because he's kind of a sideman by nature. He's not going to be able to when you have a band where everyone kind of has some skin in the game and everyone's an equal, you kind of get more bold and kind of, people are trying to put their fingerprints on it and make it more of a thing. Session guys, when they're hired, she had such a reliance on her career of these kind of of the same revolving crew of session guys. This is a really good example of it being very faceless.
It feels to me like there's a hesitance on her part to really reveal who she is, even when you would think she'd go solo and potentially flourish in that kind of environment.
Yeah.
And it's just very weird. It always feels like a missed opportunity, or she gets blanketed, or I certainly don't get the sense of who she is.
Right. So
Do
this
you?
no, definitely not.
Not at all, ever.
It's a bit perfunctory. It's
Yeah.
a bit like we got to make an album. So
There's not a
let's go make
single
one.
song on this record that I would put on the playlist. I don't think it's awful, but I give it 2 stars.
No, this one was I didn't like this one at all. So this one has getting back to the same point about the session musician guys. This one really has the sound of it's like a band playing at the county fair or like a really good wedding band or something. They're all good musicians playing well, but it's really lacking in any kind of edge or like any kind of distinctive style or sound. I kind of maybe Glyn Johns was trying to prevent it from turning into what it turned into, which is this kind of like generic sort of thing. It's all a bit polite kind of sounding.
Yeah.
My favorite thing on it was probably the thing that David Crosby is on, Street Angel, the title track. He sings backup vocals in that, and that kind of like brings it to life a little bit. But that's I'm kind of reaching for that. The other one, there's there's this one song, "Listen to the Rain," which they're really trying to make it like a big like hard rockin' one of the session guys is playing some almost like kind of metal hot licks, kind of like hot guitar lick stuff. We got to talk about "Just Like a Woman."
Yeah.
So "Just Like a Woman" is the Dylan "Just Like a Woman," and Dylan appears on the track.
Is he on it? I didn't even know that.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
he toots out some harmonica.
Is it just harmonica?
He says he plays guitar too. You can't really detect what he's doing, but you can detect his sort of like disembodied harmonica tooting. That must have been awesome. A weird day.
Yeah.
He came by
He
day.
probably, you never know with him. He probably thought it was incredibly inspirational.
So that's weird. I gave this album 1 star.
Okay, this is the most anyone's ever talked about this piece of shit record.
Yep.
So 1998 Stormy Weather compilation, she contributes "At Last." And in my notes, it basically sums it up. Yeah, okay, fine. But also, who cares?
Mm-hmm.
2 stars.
2 stars, fine. She did
Okay.
it.
She did it. Yay, yeah. She did it. Okay, 2001, "Trouble in Shangri-La."
Trouble indeed.
Here's a record, Joseph.
It's getting to the point. When I got to this point of the process, I really started to question what I'm doing with my life.
Right, exactly.
Although I didn't really hate this one as much.
I did. So, because Street Angel didn't really create very many ripples financially for the record company. What happened was Nicks reached out to Tom Petty and asked him to help her co-write. He said, "You have it within you to do this," which is, of course, slang for "I have no interest in writing with you."
You kind of get the feeling throughout their whole relationship that he didn't really want to do any of it.
Yeah. So she was inspired by that and started writing. I don't know how this equates to inspiration, but for the 1996 movie Twister, she wrote a song called "Twisted."
A little bit on the nose, maybe.
How about "Humans Being" by Van Halen?
That Twister soundtrack.
Another one we covered. Yeah. So I think she started realizing around this time that her bread and butter was the 70s. So what she started dipping back into the well. So there's 3 songs that date back to the 70s. You have "Candle Bright," which actually dates all the way back to the Buckingham Nicks era. It was previously titled "Nomad," and It was almost used on the 1975 eponymous Fleetwood Mac record, but then Rhiannon was ultimately included instead.
Mm-hmm.
Sorcerer dates back to Buckingham Nicks as well, and then Planets of the Universe was written during Rumors.
So to me, this record, the definitive sound of it that is different than what's come before is that Pro Tools is into the picture. So there is some distinct Pro Tools turd polishing on this. Everything feels kind of on the grid. Seems like there's some pitch correction happening on her voice. And if you don't like that sound, you're not going to like this, because this is Stevie Nicks plus Pro Tools. It's produced, a lot of it was produced by this guy, John Shanks, who produced like Ashley Simpson and a bunch of kind of records in that vein. In the OOs, was a big producer, won like a Grammy for Producer of the Year, kind of a big name producer. And he also produced the Van Halen comeback, Different Kind of Truth. Anyway, Sheryl Crow also was involved in this, did some production on it and did some co-writes. Mike Campbell was involved, but really, it's this record to me is less offensive to me than the previous one, because it at least sounds kind of like a record. It doesn't sound like the band at the county fair went into the recording studio for a day. It sounds.
Whereas I disagree with you. To me,
I think it's a question of what is more.
It hit me hard on this one.
Yeah.
So, what I hear when I listen to this record, and I'm just going to read it right from my notes, is a boardroom full of executives experimenting with modern production touches on an artist upon whom it's just an embarrassing series of ill-fitting suits. She sounds lost, and frankly, she sounds lost to me in her solo work all the time, whereas she comes off as at home when she's ensconced in the Mac.
Yeah. Another kind of production touch on this that was very common at this time in the early aughts was the kind of reliance on drum loops. That was like a flashy thing you could do. Like, hey, we're going to drop some drum loops into this. It was kind of on every like pop thing, and there were all of a sudden there were all these like kind of pre-canned drum loops that you could very easily drag into a Pro Tools session.
Trip hoppy.
And a lot of that, that was very popular at the time. So there's a lot of that on this.
There's one song I like on the record, Sorcerer, one of those 1970s deals.
There's a couple I like. All right, on this. This record, to me at least, okay. It's at least a sound. At least sounds like a record to me. It doesn't necessarily sound like a very good record, but it sounds like it has a sound.
I hate it. I give it 1 star.
I gave this 2.5.
Okay.
The highlights to me are Candle Bright's kind of all right. That was the one that was the remake from the 70s. That's kind of has like a little bit of an idiosyncratic kind of sound to it. And then there's a song called Every Day, which is not an amazing song, but it kind of has a pretty decent through line. I could see how it could have been like a, something they could have pushed to hot AC radio. It wasn't a hit or anything, but, I could see how that could have been like an adult contemporary-ish kind of hit. Yeah, I mean, it's not amazing. It's
And then Planets of the Universe, the descending riff of the intro immediately feels like Rhiannon.
It's a thinly veiled rewrite of Rhiannon.
But then reimagining Rhiannon with an almost house adjacent beat. Maybe not the greatest idea in the world.
That one definitely has the drum loop, that was selected out of a folder somewhere and dragged into the session.
I give this 1 star. Yeah. You don't like it either. 2011, In Your Dreams. Nicks originally wrote Secret Love in 1976, recorded a demo of it for Rumors, and again, she's dipping back into 70s cast-offs because she knows where that bread is buttered. So, In Your Dreams, do you like it, Joe?
No, I don't like this one at all. This one...
I think it's polite music for polite people.
It is for sure. It's a punishing 64 minutes, and my stamina is starting to flag a little bit at this point in trying to get through these
Joe,
records.
It's 64 minutes, 39 seconds. I know because every second hurt.
Yeah, that's towards the end. Got Glenn Ballard in on some of this producing, the Jagged Little Pill guy.
That's right.
Dave Stewart of Eurythmics fame. They're giving it a go, They're trying to make a Stevie record. It's a little bit like the last one. It's kind of like in that kind of modern Pro Tools kind of space.
There's a couple tunes that I like on it.
I would say there's a couple of things that are of interest, that not necessarily that I like.
I like New Orleans and I like Annabelle Lee.
I didn't like Annabelle Lee.
Really?
Leave Edgar Allan Poe out of it.
And then Soldier's Angel.
Okay, so that's the one I wanted to talk
with
about.
Buckingham in it. It must have killed poor Mr. Integrity to sing background vocals on this pile of turds. But you got to do what you got to do if you want to make
this one,
the big bucks.
This is the one thing on the record that isn't really ultra polished and Pro Toolsed. So I don't know if that was maybe his condition of doing it, but it sounds like it really stands out, like that it's, that it's left kind of rough. It's Lindsay on guitar and backing vocals. It's cool that they did it. It's very bad. It's not good at all. It's a really rough listen. It's weirdly kind of minimalist and feels really, really odd on the record. But thanks for trying, Lovebirds.
Well, not Lovebirds, dude. Imagine it's 2011 and you are reliant on your ex-girlfriend from 1976 to make a living.
He wasn't relying on that. He doesn't need that to make a living. You're kidding? You know how much those songs are worth? Like, you know how much Go Your Own Way publishing is worth?
Probably some.
It's worth so much fucking money. They obviously did this because they were trying to
he gets $7 checks like everyone else.
Oh, no, he doesn't. No. When you get billions of plays on things on Spotify, that starts to add up to real money.
My favorite thing about this record is that she's not shoved kicking and screaming into these awkward production strangleholds. The material is allowed to breathe and kind of be.
Yeah, I don't know. I like this one less than Trouble in Shangri-La. I give this 1.5.
I give it 2.5. Mm-hmm. All right, 2011, Listen to Me, Buddy Holly comp. She does Not Fade Away. And if you think it sounds boring, the idea of Stevie Nicks doing Not Fade Away for a Buddy Holly comp, you'd be right. Yeah. I give it 2 stars.
I give it 1.5 because I feel like this is a slight notch below like basic competent. Like, it's really kind of not good.
Yeah.
It's not as good as like the Silent Night and like At Last covers.
I give all of that.
These are
2 stars.
really weird
to
hairs.
Me, it's all 2
these
stars.
are very strange hairs to split.
She only does compilation tracks if it's a song that every single person on the planet has heard.
Right.
All right, 2014, 24 Karat Gold, Songs from the Vault. Now she's even titling it like, hey, check it out. I'm dipping from the well you guys like. This is recorded in Nashville and L.A., and there's new versions of demos that Nicks recorded mainly between 69 and 87. Although 2 songs date back to 94 and 95.
So this one, I guess one of her bandmates or manager people kind of showed her
assistant.
Right, her assistant. Okay, that her demos had leaked on YouTube. That a bunch of her demos from that period, songs that ended up being on this record, had leaked on YouTube. So I guess the logic is, hey, there's some interest in this. People are listening to these. Why don't we make a record? Which they did. It's
a sad thing, I guess, because at that time she had this unbelievable material, and really all of the best stuff was used. It turns out.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. I would say.
But this is a long album, like all of her records have started to be.
It's another real stamina test of your stamina.
And change minutes. Yep. And I count 2 songs. Just about 10 minutes of that 63 minutes that I would pull onto our playlist. Mm-hmm. Belle Fleur and If You Were My Love. Otherwise, nope.
Belle Fleur is kind of like, it made me chuckle a little bit because it's very much the like ladies dancing around the fire in the canyon kind of song. You check out the lyrics of that song.
No,
it's really kind
with
of
her. I definitely
it's like they're pretty funny. The way I look at these, when Lindsay was fired from Fleetwood Mac recently, right? So they finally were like, we can't work together. I think it was on her insistence.
Yeah.
The basic conflict of that is, Lindsay wanted to tour and do his own solo tour and wanted Mac to postpone, or at least that's what he says. He wanted them to postpone their tour so he could promote his solo record, and that it's like important for him to still be creative, which I think it is. He's pretty much a restless kind of soul. Some of his recent records are pretty good. Like he's at least like he's still trying to push the boundaries and trying to make art.
Some of his recent.
She really is not in that kind of space. She seems kind of like retired. So she kind of goes out and will tour, make a record, but she doesn't really seem to have like a burning creative fire in her. She makes records because she needs to put a record out because it's, and these are good. These are pretty wide lengths of time between these. Some of these are like a decade in between her making a record. Or almost,
but also, I mean, to keep in mind, I mean, the Mac I'm sure requires a lot of attention.
Yeah, I mean, the Mac tours now and then, but they don't make records or anything.
Yeah,
they were playing the same songs they've been playing for 50 years.
You like this record? What do you give it?
It's okay.
I give this 2.5 stars.
I also gave it 2.5. A lot of these are kind of mid-tempo, kind of acoustic guitar strummers. Like minor key things with
wistful,
occasional Stevie signifier. You'll hear it. It's a lot of the same guys again, a lot of the same players again.
Waddy waddle.
This one has, this isn't like adult contemporary. This is like senior citizen contemporary at this point.
Yeah.
It's like, it's not trying to step on any toes or like, it's very generic rock band instrumentation, guitar, bass, drums,
I don't,
B3.
it's not detestable. I give it 2.5, which means, look, it's not, if it's on in the background, it's not going to annoy. It's not going to, but it depends what you want out of music. What do you want out of music?
Yeah, it's kind of begs the question, why wouldn't you just put on one of the older records? It's the opener, Starshine, that's pretty good. It's kind of a straightforward rocker. It's it's got a lot of like that throaty beat.
The first single, The Dealer, totally undistinctive.
It really tortures that dealer.
I don't know. We've spent enough time talking about this total pile of shit. All right, so 2015, Don Henley. I know not canon, but Don Henley, she does background vocal on It Don't Matter to the Sun on Cass County, but it's only available as a Target Deluxe Edition bonus track, which is shorthand for This Song Sucks Big Elephant Dicks. All right, so 2017, Lana Del Rey's Lust for Life. She does a background vocal on Beautiful People, Beautiful Problems. Not canon, however. 2020, she does a duet with Miley Cyrus on Edge of Midnight. And 2021, she does a Maroon 5 thing.
See, the Miley Cyrus thing, okay, the movie Walk Hard?
Yeah.
There's a scene in it where it's near the end where like Dewey Cox, his song is covered by the rapper Lil Nutsack. So it becomes kind of popular and trendy again. This song is kind of like that. It's because I don't know if it samples Edge of 17. I guess it does sample Edge of. It's like Edge of 17 is the chorus, but then the verse is this other like bullshit like Miley Cyrus modern pop thing. It's very bad. It definitely reminded me of like the little nutsack scene from Walk Hard.
So it's been 8 years now. She hasn't released a record.
Yeah.
So since 2014, she's making the odd appearance here and there, just to uphold the legacy and I don't know, leave her house every now and then. But so as far as the arc of her career goes, just solo wise, from 1981 to 83, it was The Template, and then 84 to the present. Was the oven being opened too soon on the cake, except the oven opening in this particular case was an exorbitant amount of cocaine and Klonopin ingestion. My top 3 albums by this young lady. Number 3, 24 Karat Gold, Songs from the Vault. Number 2, The Wild Heart. Number 1, Belladonna. And the worst album, in my personal opinion, is definitely Trouble in Shangri-La.
We have, the top 2 are self-evident.
Yes.
There's no other possible top 2.
That's correct.
So, but my number 3 is Trouble in Shangri-La.
Oh,
your
sake.
worst album.
Get the fuck out of my life.
Unprecedented.
That is.
Which goes to show you that once you get past the top 2, I mean, it's just a sort of like it's
a grab bag.
It's a grab.
Really
what
is.
Offends you least,
right.
or like what sounds least bad to you. It's,
right.
So that's my number 3. Number 2, The Wild Heart, and number 1, Belladonna. My worst album is sounds like it came straight from the County Fair Street Angel album.
Yes,
don't like
fair
that.
Indeed.
Don't like that one at all. So,
all right. Well, that's Stevie Nicks in a nutshell. I'm sure she'll be regaling us in the future with some hackneyed regurgitation of past glories. But in the meantime, definitely continue checking us out. Every week we will be premiering a new episode on an artist or band that goes from the most popular to the most obscure. There's no corner of music history that will remain unexplored.
And we just demonstrated to you that we are willing willing to sit and listen to many punishingly bad Stevie Nicks albums.
That's right.
In a row. So you cannot doubt our commitments.
We really emphatically want to thank today's guest for flaking on us, because we got to actually put an amazing episode to tape.
Yeah, as always.
Yeah. So thanks for that, and definitely check us out.
And hey, the playlist for this ought to be pretty good. So
yeah.
check out the playlist. It'll be in the show notes and on our website, discography.com. You can find it on Spotify, Apple, all that stuff.
Yeah, definitely. Please subscribe. Rate us 5 stars on Apple. And check us out on Facebook and start.
There's a discussion
fun.
group if you want to get in there and chat with us. We'll be interacting with you. We're hoping to get that kind of cranking up more. So let's see you in there, fans.
Yep. It's going to be great. We'll see you guys in the very, very near future. Thanks for joining us on Discography.